Then very briefly some of the specific criticisms of my report. First, and we went through this in Manila, but I guess we'll keep doing it. Karapatan alleged 836 cases. The task force went through it very carefully, and lo and behold, only 14% of the cases were found to be probable extrajudicial killings. I went through it with them on the spot, on the day, and told them that the methodology they were using was completely wrong, that they had written off a range of cases that fully deserved to be investigated. One of them, which is cited twice in this, involves the killing of 23 convicted members of the terrorist Abu Sayyaf group who died in a violent jailbreak. Now, the terrible thing about being concerned about extrajudicial executions is that if Osama bin Laden is brought into this room and shot in front of me, it's an extrajudicial execution. It doesn't matter what he's responsible for. It doesn't matter what terrible crimes he's being committed. A government is not entitled to kill in cold blood any individual. These Abu Sayyaf individuals were shot in circumstances which are highly suspicious in terms of a fabricated jailbreak, which is a very common technique in order to dispose of certain individuals, and without prejudging exactly what happened, but on the basis of very detailed reports that I received when I was in the Philippines, it is abundantly clear that these 23 cases need to be treated as probable cases of extrajudicial executions. So the government cites those twice as being among those cases that were simply thrown out by the task force. One could go on, but I don't have time, and this is not the place to do it. But these figures are misleading at best. Second, I was not impartial, I was unduly selective, I dismissed information provided by government agencies. And I listened to these lefties over here, who are now on my right. One of the things that was a little surprising and disappointing is that the government didn't make the most of the opportunities that were presented to them. We got off to a very bad start, and I don't mind telling an anecdote here that's well known to the government, but it's revealing. The very first briefing that I had in Malacanang, which was in the big presidential briefing room, many high dignitaries there, including from all the armed forces and so on. And up comes a slideshow. And the slideshow began to attribute virtually every killing that had taken place in recent years to subversive or terrorist groups. Almost every killing, subversive or terrorist groups. And I sat there and I was a bit taken aback because I actually do a lot of preparation for my missions. I'm pretty well briefed. And I just wondered what was going on, where this slideshow had come from, who it could possibly be intended for. About a week later, when it was clear that my mission was starting to come to grips with real issues, one of the officials chiefly responsible for the briefing said, "My God, they really blew it." And I said, "What do you mean?" And this person said, "Well, we'd actually had a task force, a government task force, meeting for many weeks, precisely to give a presentation to you upon arrival. And we had it all prepared. And at the last minute, it was pushed aside, and instead the government decided to show you the slideshow that's produced for visiting VIPs and others who really know nothing about the real situation." Now, the point is very simple, that the government missed right from the very beginning the opportunity to engage with me, to say, look, of course there have been killings, let's talk about individual cases, let's go through it systematically. I then have, and we've got in here again, all the cases of the killings attributed to the NPA. I'm no defender of the NPA. I am confident that the NPA has killed a lot of people, its own and other people. What I kept asking for was detailed information on recent killings, not the historic killings from the purges of the 1980s and early 90s, but recent killings, detailed information, because I want my report to go into that sort of detail. I still haven't got it. I continue to get long lists of allegations, but no details. And unfortunately, the government was put in a very difficult position by not just these terrible lefties, but by a number of much more conservatively oriented NGOs in the Philippines, all of whom produced dossiers on specific cases which were quite extraordinary in the amount of detail and accuracy provided. I've never received as much detailed information, as systematic information, as I got from NGOs in the Philippines. I said in my report that it wasn't all credible, wasn't all reliable. When I had discussions with individuals, there were individuals who revealed themselves not to be telling the truth. That's natural. I don't have a problem with that. My job is to listen to a wide range of people and to make a determination as to whose stories are credible, and thus go into forming my overall view of things and whose are not. But the bottom line was that the overwhelming number of detailed dossiers that I got were credible and raised issues which the government could and should have responded to, but hasn't done so yet. I probably should